Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. Picture this, you're in a recording booth floating somewhere between reality and fiction when suddenly Deadpool himself shows up, only to find someone even more meta than him. Today, we're diving into a mind-bending collision of pop culture precision and cosmic chaos that's redefining what it means to break the fourth wall.
Oh, this is going to be good. You know, meta-comedy has been around forever, but what's happening now is completely different.
Different how?
Well, according to recent studies, meta-humor in Marvel properties has evolved way beyond just Deadpool's quips. We're seeing this fascinating blend of self-awareness and cosmic storytelling.
Right, and Deadpool's pretty much the king of breaking the fourth wall, isn't he?
Actually, that's a common misconception. She-Hulk was breaking the fourth wall in Marvel Comics before Deadpool ever did, but Wade Wilson definitely perfected it.
Oh really? Tell me more about that.
So in the comics and films, Deadpool's known for not just acknowledging the audience, but for his deep knowledge of pop culture and meta-commentary. He's referenced everything from other Marvel characters to Ryan Reynolds' other roles.
And now we're seeing this kind of meta-awareness expand into cosmic settings?
Exactly. Recent research shows that cosmic storytelling has become this perfect canvas for meta-commentary. It's like when you're dealing with space and time, the rules of reality get more flexible.
That's fascinating. And where do recording booths fit into all this?
Oh, recording booths have this rich history in film and TV. They've appeared in everything from 1944's Marine Raiders to modern shows. They're these perfect little spaces where characters become hyper-aware of their own performance.
So it's like a meta-commentary within a meta-commentary.
Exactly. As Deadpool would say, it's like a fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's 16 walls.
But what makes this cosmic setting so special for meta-humor?
According to recent studies in narrative theory, cosmic settings create this unique space where both literal and metaphoric exploration can happen simultaneously.
That's pretty deep for a comedy concept.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Modern audiences, especially Gen Z, are really drawn to this kind of layered storytelling. They want their comedy to have depth.
Speaking of depth, let's talk about how this affects the audience experience.
Research shows that when stories blend cosmic elements with meta-humor, it actually increases audience engagement. It's like we're all in on this big cosmic joke together.
And the recording booth becomes like this nexus point, right?
Absolutely. It's a space where characters can literally record their awareness of being in a story. It's meta-inception.
That's wild. How do writers even approach something this complex?
Recent industry analysis shows they're increasingly drawing from both scientific advancement and pop culture literacy. It's this perfect storm of knowledge and creativity.
And audiences are keeping up with all these layers?
Not just keeping up, they're demanding more. Studies show that Gen Z audiences particularly appreciate this kind of multi-level storytelling.
It's like we're evolving beyond simple fourth wall breaks.
Exactly. We're seeing what researchers call narrative innovation, where the very structure of storytelling is being reinvented.
And how does this affect the characters themselves?
Well, according to recent analysis, characters in these stories often experience a kind of meta-awakening. They become aware not just of being characters, but of their role in larger cosmic narratives.
That sounds pretty mind-bending.
It is, but that's what makes it so engaging. These stories challenge our understanding of reality itself.
Let's talk about the cosmic recording booth concept specifically.
The recording booth becomes this fascinating metaphor for self-awareness in storytelling. It's a space where characters can literally hear themselves being recorded in the narrative.
And when you add the cosmic element?
That's where it gets really interesting. The cosmic setting allows for infinite possibilities. Literally anything can happen when you're dealing with space and time.
So it's like a perfect storm of meta-commentary?
Exactly. And research shows this combination of cosmic settings and meta-humor creates uniquely memorable narrative experiences.
How does this affect the way stories are written?
According to industry experts, writers are now approaching scripts with multiple layers of awareness built in from the start. It's not just about breaking the fourth wall anymore.
That sounds incredibly challenging.
It is, but that's what makes it so exciting. These stories are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in narrative structure.
And how do audiences react to all this complexity?
Studies show they're actually more engaged when stories challenge them this way. It's like solving a puzzle while being entertained.
That's pretty impressive.
And what's really fascinating is how this affects the way we think about storytelling itself. We're seeing a complete revolution in narrative structure.
Let's talk about the future of this trend.
Research indicates we're just at the beginning. As audiences become more sophisticated, these metacosmic narratives are likely to become even more complex.
That's mind-blowing to think about.
It really is. We're witnessing the evolution of storytelling in real time.
And how does this affect the creative process?
According to industry analysis, creators are having to think in multiple dimensions from the start. It's not just about plot anymore, it's about layers of awareness.
That's fascinating.
And what's really interesting is how this affects character development. Characters have to be aware not just of their story, but of storytelling itself.
It's like Inception, but with narrative awareness.
Exactly. And research shows this kind of layered storytelling actually helps audiences engage more deeply with the material.
So what's next for this genre?
According to industry trends, we're going to see even more blending of cosmic settings with meta-commentary. The possibilities are literally infinite.
That's incredible to think about.
And what's really exciting is how this might influence other forms of storytelling. We're seeing these techniques spread beyond just comedy.
It's really revolutionizing the whole field.
Absolutely. And research shows audiences are becoming more sophisticated in their appreciation of these complex narratives.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners?
The key is to embrace the complexity. These stories are challenging us to think differently about narrative itself.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Copilot Podcasts. Remember, whether you're in a cosmic recording booth or just enjoying a story, there's always another layer to discover.
And who knows? Maybe we're all just characters in someone else's cosmic recording booth right now.
And on that mind-bending note, thanks for listening. Keep exploring those metaverses, everyone.
Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. Picture this. Deadpool's running through the halls of a copyright office, desperately trying to escape a character who knows every single pop culture reference ever made. Today, we're diving into a wild meta-comedic audio drama that's pushing the boundaries of parody law and creative storytelling. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how modern audio drama is revolutionizing the way we think about copyright, comedy, and pop culture references.
And what's fascinating is how this format actually creates new possibilities for storytelling that wouldn't work in visual media. The audio-only format gives us more flexibility when it comes to copyright issues.
Wait, really? How does that work?
Well, according to recent legal developments, parody has special protections under fair use doctrine. The Supreme Court has specifically stated that parody needs to mimic an original to make its point.
So you're saying audio drama can actually get away with more than visual media when it comes to parody?
Exactly. In audio, you can describe something without directly reproducing it. It's like having a character say they're wearing mouse ears without actually showing Disney's Mickey Mouse.
That's actually pretty clever. It's like a legal loophole through audio description.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The character of Jeremy in this drama is essentially weaponizing his pop culture knowledge, which creates this fascinating legal paradox.
How so?
Well, according to current copyright law, simply referencing another work isn't infringement. But when those references become so precise and numerous that they form a pattern, you enter a gray area.
And I imagine Deadpool being involved just adds another layer of meta to all this.
Oh, absolutely. Deadpool's whole character is built on breaking the fourth wall and making pop culture references. So having him flee from someone who's essentially weaponizing that same trait is brilliantly meta.
You know, it reminds me of how audio drama has evolved. This isn't your grandmother's radio play anymore.
Not at all. In fact, audio drama is experiencing a renaissance. The BBC recently faced massive pushback when they considered cutting their audio drama programming.
Really? That seems counterintuitive given how popular podcasts have become.
Exactly. And what's particularly interesting is how audio drama allows for more experimental storytelling formats, like this meta-commentary on copyright law.
Speaking of copyright law, can you break down exactly what makes something a legal parody versus potential infringement?
Sure. According to recent legal guidelines, parody needs to transform the original work and add new meaning or commentary. It's not enough to just copy with a few changes.
And how does this audio drama handle that balance?
Well, by making the entire premise about copyright law itself, it becomes a meta-commentary on the very system it's working within. It's quite clever, actually.
That's fascinating. So it's basically using the rules about parody to comment on those very rules?
Exactly. And in 2025, we're seeing more creators experiment with this kind of meta-commentary. It's becoming a distinct genre of its own.
Let's talk about Jeremy's character for a moment. How does his pop culture precision work as a storytelling device?
It's brilliant because it turns knowledge itself into a superpower. Every reference he makes is like a legal landmine for Deadpool to navigate.
That's such a unique concept. It's like weaponizing trivia.
And it works particularly well in audio because the audience has to actively engage their imagination to visualize these references.
You mentioned earlier about audio drama's renaissance. How does this fit into that broader trend?
Well, modern audio dramas are pushing boundaries in ways traditional media can't. They're not constrained by visual effects budgets or physical limitations.
So they can basically go anywhere their imagination takes them?
Exactly. And when you combine that freedom with meta-commentary on copyright law, you get something truly unique.
Let's talk about the legal void that Deadpool gets pushed into. What's the significance there?
It's a brilliant metaphor for the gaps in copyright law, these spaces where the rules aren't clearly defined yet.
And I suppose that's particularly relevant with all the AI and digital media questions we're facing now?
Absolutely. According to recent legal developments, we're seeing more cases that challenge traditional copyright frameworks, especially with AI-generated content.
How does the audio drama format help tell this particular story?
The audio format allows for seamless transitions between reality and meta-commentary. You can shift between levels of storytelling just through sound design.
That's really clever. It's like the medium itself becomes part of the message.
Exactly. And it creates this wonderful irony where a story about copyright restrictions actually has more creative freedom because of its format.
Do you think we'll see more of these meta-commentaries in audio drama?
Based on current trends in media and entertainment law, absolutely. Creators are increasingly aware of intellectual property issues.
And I suppose audio drama gives them a unique way to explore these issues?
Yes, and it's particularly relevant now as we see more complex legal cases around parody and fair use in digital media.
Let's talk about the studio void element. How does that play into the meta-commentary?
It's brilliant because it literally represents the space between creation and distribution, where legal questions often arise.
Almost like a literal representation of legal limbo?
Exactly. And in audio, you can create that void through sound design in ways that would be prohibitively expensive in visual media.
How do you think this kind of storytelling might evolve in the future?
Well, with AI and new technologies emerging, the questions around copyright and creativity are only going to get more complex.
So we might see more stories that directly engage with these issues?
Absolutely. And audio drama is uniquely positioned to tell these stories because it can literally play with the boundaries between reality and fiction.
What about the role of pop culture references themselves? How do they function in this context?
They become both weapon and shield. Each reference tests the boundaries of fair use while simultaneously commenting on those same boundaries.
It's like a legal version of Inception, layers within layers.
And that's exactly the kind of reference that makes this format so interesting. You just made a film reference that itself comments on layered realities.
As we wrap up, what do you think is the biggest takeaway from this kind of meta-storytelling?
I think it shows us that creativity often flourishes most when it's pushing against constraints. These legal boundaries become part of the art itself.
And audio drama gives us a unique way to explore those boundaries?
Exactly. It's the perfect medium for meta-commentary because it can move so fluidly between different levels of reality and reference.
So what's next for this kind of storytelling?
With AI and new technologies emerging, we're likely to see even more complex explorations of copyright, creativity, and meta-commentary.
It's like the future of storytelling is becoming as meta as the stories themselves.
And that's exactly what makes this such an exciting time for audio drama. The medium is evolving along with the messages it carries.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Co-Pilot Podcasts. Remember, sometimes the most interesting stories are the ones that make us question the nature of storytelling itself.
And if Deadpool ever escapes that copyright void, I'm sure he'll have quite a few meta comments about this episode.
Welcome to Co-Pilot Podcasts. You know that moment when Deadpool looks directly at the camera and makes a joke about the movie budget? Well, today we're diving deep into the world of meta-comedy, where characters don't just break the fourth wall, they renovate it, redecorate it, and sometimes file for a building permit.
Oh, I love that analogy with the building permit, because honestly, that's not far from the truth when it comes to navigating the legal landscape of meta-commentary.
Right? And speaking of legal landscapes, we're exploring how modern creators are pushing the boundaries of meta humor while trying not to get sued into oblivion.
It's fascinating because meta humor has actually evolved alongside our legal framework. The fair use doctrine specifically protects transformative works that comment on the original material.
Wait, so you're saying the law actually encourages breaking the fourth wall?
In a way, yes. When you're explicitly commenting on or critiquing the original work, you're more likely to be protected under fair use. It's like getting a legal hall pass to be self-aware.
That's actually pretty clever. The system is designed to protect commentary on existing works.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is how this has shaped modern meta-commentary. Take Deadpool, for example. The creators have to be very specific about who gets to break the fourth wall.
Oh yeah, I just read about this. Ryan Reynolds actually explained why Wolverine won't be breaking the fourth wall in their upcoming movie, right?
Yes. He said there are very specific rules. If everyone broke the fourth wall, it would diminish the stakes. You need to believe the villain is actually a villain.
That makes so much sense. It's like having one unreliable narrator instead of a whole cast of them.
And you know what's fascinating? This whole concept of meta-commentary actually developed alongside video games in the 1970s.
Really? How so?
According to research from Louisiana State University, the height of postmodern metafiction directly coincided with the introduction of home consoles and the golden age of arcade games.
So our ability to interact with media and our desire to comment on it grew together?
Exactly. And this has created some interesting legal questions. When you're making a game or show that comments on other media, you're walking a fine line.
Like what kind of line?
Well, according to recent copyright cases, you need to be transformative enough to qualify as fair use, but not so transformative that you're creating market confusion.
That sounds like a pretty narrow tightrope to walk.
It is. And it gets even more complicated when you consider how meta humor has evolved. It's not just about breaking the fourth wall anymore.
What do you mean?
Modern meta-commentary often involves complex layers of self-awareness. Take games like the Stanley Parable, which doesn't just break the fourth wall, it questions the very nature of choice in gaming.
Oh, that's such a good example. It's not just acknowledging the audience, it's commenting on the medium itself.
Right. And this kind of deep meta-commentary is actually more likely to be protected under fair use, because it's clearly transformative and analytical.
So the more you engage with the form itself, the safer you are legally?
Generally, yes, but there's still a catch. You need to be careful about how much of the original material you use.
Ah, so you can't just copy everything and slap a meta-commentary label on it?
Exactly. The courts look at whether you're using more than necessary to make your point. It's about finding that sweet spot.
You know what's interesting? The way different characters handle meta-awareness differently.
Oh, absolutely. Like how Deadpool's fourth wall breaks are explained as him being crazy but coincidentally right, while She-Hulk is portrayed as actually aware of being in a show.
That's such a fascinating distinction. Why do you think they made those different choices?
It comes down to the tone and purpose of each character. Deadpool's awareness is played for laughs, while She-Hulk's awareness is used for commentary on genre conventions.
And I guess each approach opens up different storytelling possibilities?
Exactly. And it affects how they can interact with copyright law too. Different types of commentary get different levels of protection.
Really? How so?
Well, parody gets stronger protection than satire under fair use. So if you're directly commenting on the work itself, like Deadpool does, you have more legal leeway.
That's fascinating. So the law actually shapes how these meta-narratives work?
Absolutely. And it's created this fascinating ecosystem where creators have to be really clever about how they construct their meta-commentary.
Like what kind of clever tricks do they use?
One interesting approach is using the medium itself as commentary, like how some podcasts will include technical difficulties that are actually part of the story.
Oh, that's brilliant, because then you're not really borrowing from anyone else's work.
Exactly. And this kind of innovation is pushing meta-commentary in new directions. It's not just about breaking the fourth wall anymore.
What do you think is next for meta-commentary?
Well, with the rise of AI and interactive media, we're seeing new forms of self-awareness emerge. Games that comment on their own code, stories that acknowledge their algorithmic nature.
That sounds both exciting and a little terrifying.
It is. And it's creating new legal questions too. Like, can an AI-generated work be self-aware in a legally protected way?
Oh wow, I hadn't even thought about that angle.
Yeah, it's a whole new frontier. The laws around fair use and meta-commentary were written for human creators. AI changes everything.
So what should creators keep in mind when they're working with meta-commentary?
First, understand the legal framework. Know what fair use protects and what it doesn't. Second, be intentional about your meta elements. They should serve a purpose.
And I guess make sure you're actually adding something new to the conversation?
Exactly. The best meta-commentary doesn't just point out conventions, it challenges them, subverts them, makes us think about them differently.
Like how the Stanley Parable makes us question our own role as players?
Precisely. It's not just breaking the fourth wall, it's making us think about why the wall was there in the first place.
That's really deep when you think about it.
And that's what makes great meta-commentary so powerful. It's not just clever, it makes us see things in a new way.
So, what's your prediction for the future of meta-commentary?
I think we'll see more integration between different forms of meta-awareness, games that comment on movies, shows that comment on games, all while navigating an increasingly complex legal landscape.
That sounds like it could get pretty mind-bending.
Oh, it will be. But that's what makes meta-commentary so exciting. It keeps evolving, finding new ways to surprise us.
Well, I think my brain needs a break from all this meta-analysis.
Just wait until we start analyzing our analysis of meta-commentary. That's when things get really recursive.
And on that mind-bending note, we'll wrap up this episode of Copilot Podcasts. Remember, folks, sometimes the most interesting stories are the ones that know their stories.
And if you're planning to break any fourth walls, make sure to check with your lawyer first.
Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. You know that moment when Deadpool looks directly into the camera and completely shatters your movie experience? Well, today we're diving into the wild world of meta-comedy, where the fourth wall isn't just broken, it's obliterated. We'll explore how modern storytellers are pushing boundaries, navigating copyright laws, and turning self-awareness into an art form.
And it's fascinating how this has evolved. According to recent research, meta-humor has become increasingly prevalent in modern media, especially in podcasts and streaming content.
Really? Tell me more about that research.
Well, a recent study from Edinburgh University Press actually traced the evolution of meta-content in film and television. They found that what was once considered avant-garde is now mainstream entertainment.
That's wild. So we've basically normalized breaking the fourth wall?
Exactly. But here's what's really interesting. Ryan Reynolds just explained in a Vanity Fair interview why only Deadpool breaks the fourth wall in their upcoming film with Wolverine.
Oh? What's the reasoning there?
He said there are very specific rules. If everyone broke the fourth wall, you'd lose the stakes. You need to believe the villain is truly villainous, and other characters need to feel real.
That makes so much sense. It's like having one unreliable narrator in a sea of reliable ones.
Exactly. And this brings us to an interesting legal aspect, fair use in meta-commentary.
Ah, yes, the copyright elephant in the room.
According to recent legal guidance from the Copyright Alliance, parody and meta-commentary have special protections under fair use doctrine, but there are strict limits.
What kind of limits are we talking about?
Well, courts look at four main factors: the purpose of the use, nature of the copyrighted work, amount used, and effect on the market value.
So you can't just throw in random references and call it meta?
Not at all. You need to be transformative, add new meaning or message. Simply copying with a wink isn't enough.
You know what's interesting? This reminds me of an old case with South Park.
Ah, the Brown Mark Films case. That's actually a perfect example of successful meta-parody.
Can you break that down for our listeners?
Sure. South Park created an animated version of a viral video, and the court ruled it was clearly fair use because they were commenting on the broader phenomenon of internet video culture.
So they weren't just copying the video, they were making a point about viral videos in general?
Exactly. And that's what makes great meta-commentary work. It's not just self-reference, it's commentary on the medium itself.
Speaking of which, I've noticed something interesting about podcasts specifically.
Oh, you mean how podcast meta-humor often comes from documentary roots?
Yes. Can you explain that connection?
According to research, podcasts inherited their meta-tendencies from shows like This American Life and Radiolab, where hosts often acknowledge the production process.
That's fascinating. So it's almost like meta-commentary is built into the DNA of podcasting?
Exactly. And it creates unique challenges for audio storytelling.
What kind of challenges?
Well, without visual cues, audio creators have to be really clever about how they signal meta moments to listeners.
That makes me think about the psychological impact of breaking the fourth wall.
Yes, and that's where it gets really interesting. Research shows it creates a unique kind of intimacy with the audience.
But doesn't it also risk undermining the story?
That's the paradox. It can either enhance engagement or completely break immersion, depending on how it's handled.
You know, this reminds me of something from classical theater.
Ah, you're thinking of Aristophanes and old comedy?
Exactly. They were doing meta commentary way back then, right?
Yes, they used fantastical plots and grotesque masks to satirize politicians. It was meta commentary before we had a word for it.
So this isn't really a new phenomenon at all?
Not at all. What's new is how we're using it in digital media.
And how copyright law is trying to keep up?
Exactly. The legal framework is constantly evolving to address new forms of meta commentary and parody.
What about the role of social media in all this?
That's where it gets really meta. Social media has created this constant feedback loop of self-reference and commentary.
Like TikTok trends about TikTok trends?
Exactly. And according to recent studies, these meta trends actually get more engagement than straightforward content.
Why do you think that is?
Research suggests it makes audiences feel like they're in on the joke, part of a more sophisticated conversation.
But there's a risk of it becoming too clever for its own good, right?
Absolutely. Meta humor works best when it serves the story, not when it's just showing off.
Speaking of stories, let's talk about the future of meta commentary.
Well, with AI and virtual reality entering the picture, we're seeing entirely new forms of meta-narrative emerging.
What do you mean?
Imagine VR experiences that comment on the nature of virtual reality itself, or AI-generated content that's self-aware about being AI-generated.
That's getting into some real Inception territory there.
And that's exactly what makes it so exciting. We're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
So, what's your prediction for the future of meta comedy?
I think we'll see more sophisticated integration of meta elements, especially as audiences become more media literate.
And the legal landscape will have to keep evolving with it?
Absolutely. Fair use doctrine will need to adapt to new forms of creative expression.
It's like we're in this constant dance between creativity and regulation.
That's a perfect way to put it. And that tension often produces the most interesting art.
Well, as we wrap up, what's the key takeaway for creators wanting to explore meta comedy?
I'd say understand the rules before you break them and make sure your meta moments serve a purpose beyond just being clever.
And maybe consult a lawyer?
Definitely consult a lawyer. Fair use is complex, and it's better to be safe than sorry.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Co-Pilot Podcasts. Remember, sometimes the most powerful way to tell a story is to acknowledge that you're telling one.
And on that meta note, we'll see ourselves out, very self-consciously, of course.
Perfect meta ending. Thanks for listening, everyone. And yes, we know you're listening. Very meta of us to acknowledge that, isn't it? Welcome to Co-Pilot Podcasts. You know that moment when a character breaks the fourth wall and speaks directly to the audience? Well, today we're diving into something even more mind-bending, an audio drama that's not just breaking the fourth wall, it's shattering it across dimensions, copyright laws, and the very fabric of storytelling itself.
Oh, this is going to be fun to unpack. We're talking about meta commentary that goes beyond just acknowledging the audience, right?
Exactly. And you know what's fascinating? The whole concept of breaking the fourth wall actually dates back to a 17th century French playwright named Molière.
That's right. And it's wild how this theatrical concept has evolved across different media. In theatre, you literally have 3 physical walls and that imaginary fourth wall between actors and audience.
But in audio drama, it's completely different, isn't it? I mean, there are no physical walls to break.
That's what makes this so interesting. In audio, you have to create that wall purely through sound and narrative, which actually makes breaking it even more challenging and potentially more rewarding.
Speaking of breaking walls, let's talk about our red-suited friend Deadpool. He's kind of the poster child for fourth wall breaks in modern media, right?
Oh, absolutely. Deadpool's constant audience interaction has become legendary. He doesn't just break the fourth wall, he demolishes it, rebuilds it, and breaks it again just for fun.
And that brings us to an interesting legal point. When you're doing meta commentary like this, you're walking a fine line with copyright law, aren't you?
And this is where it gets really interesting. According to recent copyright law discussions, there's actually a crucial distinction between parody and satire.
Oh, what's the difference?
Well, parody specifically comments on or criticizes the original work itself, while satire uses the work to criticize something else entirely. And here's the kicker, parody gets much stronger protection under fair use.
That's fascinating. So if you're doing meta commentary, you better make sure you're actually commenting on the medium itself?
Exactly. The Supreme Court actually addressed this in Campbell v. Acuff Rose Music, saying that parody needs to mimic the original to make its point, while satire can stand on its own.
So how does this play out in an audio drama format? I mean, you can't exactly show visual references or break physical walls.
That's where the real creativity comes in. Audio dramas have to rely on narrative devices, sound design, and clever writing to create that meta effect.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, you might have characters acknowledge the narrator, comment on sound effects as they're happening, or even interact with the production team.
That reminds me of how Deadpool often comments on the movie's budget or special effects.
Right. And in audio, you can play with things like mic proximity, room tone, or even the concept of editing itself.
But doesn't this risk pulling listeners out of the story?
That's actually part of the appeal. When done well, it creates this intimate connection with the audience. They become part of the joke, part of the experience.
And I imagine timing is crucial here.
Oh, absolutely. You can't just break the fourth wall randomly. It needs to serve the story, enhance the comedy, or make a specific point about the medium itself.
Let's talk about the legal challenges again. How do you navigate copyright when you're explicitly referencing other works?
Well, this is where the transformative aspect becomes crucial. You need to be adding something new, commenting on the original in a meaningful way.
Sort of like how Deadpool's fourth wall breaks often comment on superhero movie tropes?
Exactly. And that's considered fair use because it's transformative commentary on the genre itself.
But in audio, you can't rely on visual references or physical comedy.
No, but you can play with audio conventions. Think about how radio shows have their own set of tropes and expectations that can be subverted.
Like what?
Well, things like narrator reliability, sound effect conventions, even the way we process and edit audio, all of these can become part of the meta commentary.
That's really clever. And I suppose each of these elements could be used for parody?
Absolutely. And remember, parody gets stronger legal protection because it's commenting directly on the medium or work it's referencing.
So what's the key to making this work in audio format?
I'd say it's about finding that sweet spot between cleverness and clarity. Your meta-commentary needs to be obvious enough for listeners to get it, but subtle enough to not feel forced.
And I imagine timing plays a huge role here.
Definitely. In audio, timing is everything. A meta moment that comes too early might confuse listeners. Too late might feel unnecessary.
How do you balance that with maintaining the overall narrative?
That's the real art of it. Your meta moments should enhance the story, not derail it. They should feel like natural extensions of the narrative.
Kind of like how Deadpool's fourth wall breaks actually add to his character rather than just being random asides?
Exactly. They're part of who he is as a character, not just gimmicks for the sake of being clever.
And in audio drama, how do you achieve that same level of integration?
It often comes down to character development and consistent world building. Your meta elements need to feel like they belong in the universe you're creating.
That must be particularly challenging when you're dealing with copyright issues.
Oh yeah, it's a delicate balance. You want to reference other works enough to make your point, but not so much that you risk infringement.
How do successful shows navigate that balance?
They usually focus on commenting on broader tropes and conventions rather than specific works. That way, they're less likely to run into legal issues.
And I suppose that also makes the commentary more universally relatable?
Exactly. When you're commenting on genre conventions rather than specific works, more people can appreciate and understand the humor.
Let's talk about the audience reaction. How do listeners typically respond to these meta elements?
It really varies. Some people love feeling like they're in on the joke, while others prefer their stories straight. The key is making sure the meta elements add value.
And how do you measure that value?
I think it comes down to whether the meta commentary enhances the story or distracts from it. Does it make the audience think? Does it make them laugh? Does it deepen their engagement?
Those are great questions to consider. Any final thoughts on the future of metacomedy in audio drama?
I think we're going to see more experimentation with form and structure. As audio drama evolves, creators will find new ways to play with conventions and expectations.
And hopefully stay on the right side of copyright law while doing it.
That's the challenge, isn't it? But I think that's what makes it exciting, finding creative ways to push boundaries while respecting legal limits.
Well, speaking of boundaries, we're about to hit ours with time. Any last words of wisdom for aspiring metacomedic audio dramatists?
Remember that breaking the fourth wall is like breaking any other rule. Know why you're doing it, and make sure it serves your story.
And on that note, we'll break our own fourth wall to say goodbye to our listeners. Thanks for joining us on Copilot Podcasts, where even our endings get meta.
Wait, was that too meta? Should we do another take? Oh, we're still recording, aren't we?
And that's exactly the kind of meta humor we've been talking about. Perfect way to end. See you next time, everyone.
Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. You know that moment when a character looks directly at the camera and says, "Yay, I know you're watching this." Well, today we're diving into something even more mind-bending, a meta-comedic audio drama that's pushing the boundaries of fourth wall breaks and copyright law in ways that'll make your head spin.
Oh, this is going to be fun to unpack. We're talking about a real collision of creative techniques and legal frameworks here.
Right? And get this, it's all happening in the audio space, which adds a whole new layer of complexity to how we break that fourth wall.
You know, it's fascinating because breaking the fourth wall actually has this rich history dating back to the 1700s. The term was first coined by a French playwright named Molière.
Wait, really? The 1700s?
Yeah. And here's what's wild. It was originally about theater, where you literally had 3 physical walls on stage and this imaginary fourth wall between the actors and audience.
And now we're seeing it evolve into this whole new thing with audio dramas, right?
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. In audio, you have to rely entirely on voice and sound design to break that wall. You can't just have a character look at the camera.
That's such a good point. How do you even establish a fourth wall when there's nothing visual to break?
Well, according to current podcasting trends, creators are getting really creative with this. They're using direct address, production awareness, even meta commentary about the medium itself.
But then you run into the whole copyright issue, especially when you're referencing other properties, right?
That's where things get legally fascinating. Under US copyright law, parody gets special protection as fair use. But there's this really important distinction between parody and satire.
Oh, what's the difference?
So, parody specifically comments on or criticizes the original work itself, while satire uses that work to criticize something else entirely. And legally, that distinction is huge.
So if our meta audio drama is directly commenting on the fourth wall breaking character it's referencing,
then it's more likely to be protected as parody, yeah. The Supreme Court actually addressed this in Campbell v. Cuff Rose Music.
But here's what I'm wondering. How does copyright protection work specifically for podcasts?
That's actually really important. According to recent legal guidelines, podcasts are protected by copyright as soon as they're recorded and saved as an audio file.
Automatically? You don't have to register anything?
Nope. The protection exists from the moment of creation, but registration can give you additional legal benefits if you ever need to defend your work.
So what exactly gets protected in a podcast?
Everything original. The audio recording itself, any scripts or dialogue, original music, sound effects, even the unique way you structure your meta commentary.
But not the basic ideas themselves, right?
Right. You can't copyright an idea or concept, only the specific expression of that idea. So the concept of breaking the fourth wall isn't protected, but your unique way of doing it is.
Let's talk about how this plays out in practice. What are some effective techniques for breaking the fourth wall in audio?
Well, direct address is a big one, having characters acknowledge they're in a podcast. But you can also play with production elements, like characters commenting on sound effects or editing.
That's pretty meta.
And it gets even more interesting when you start layering these techniques, like having characters debate the legal implications of their own meta commentary.
That's some Inception level stuff right there.
Exactly. And according to current podcast trends, audiences are really responding to this kind of complex, self-aware storytelling.
But you've got to be careful with how you reference other properties, right?
Absolutely. The key is making sure your meta commentary is transformative enough to qualify as parody. You can't just copy elements, you need to add something new.
What about using clips or quotes from other works?
That's where you really need to be careful. According to current legal guidelines, even brief clips require proper licensing unless they fall under fair use.
And fair use isn't always easy to prove, is it?
No, it's actually quite complex. Courts look at multiple factors, including the purpose of the use, the amount used, and the effect on the market for the original work.
So how do successful podcasts navigate this?
Many focus on creating original content that references or comments on other works without directly using their material. It's safer legally and often more creative.
That makes sense. You're building something new while still maintaining that meta connection.
And it's interesting how this approach has evolved. Modern audiences are really savvy about meta commentary. They get the references without needing explicit quotes.
Speaking of audiences, how do they typically react to fourth wall breaks in audio?
According to recent podcast analytics, when done well, it actually increases engagement. People love feeling like they're in on the joke.
That's fascinating. It's like creating this shared experience with the listeners.
Exactly. And in audio, it can be even more intimate because you're literally speaking directly into someone's ears.
But you have to maintain that balance between being clever and being too self-indulgent, right?
That's the real art of it. The best meta commentary enhances the story rather than distracting from it.
And I imagine timing is crucial too.
Oh, absolutely. You need to know when to break that wall and when to let the story just flow naturally.
It's like a dance between acknowledging the medium and staying true to the narrative.
And that's where the legal framework actually helps. It forces creators to be more creative in how they reference and comment on other works.
So what's the future looking like for this kind of meta storytelling in podcasts?
Based on current trends, we're seeing more sophisticated approaches to meta-narrative, especially as creators better understand both the creative and legal aspects.
And technology probably plays a role too, right?
Definitely. New audio production techniques are making it possible to create more complex layers of meta-commentary while staying within legal boundaries.
It's pretty exciting to think about where this could go.
And as long as creators stay informed about both the creative and legal aspects, the possibilities are really endless.
Any final thoughts on navigating this space successfully?
I think the key is understanding that good meta-commentary isn't just about being clever, it's about adding genuine value to the story while respecting legal boundaries.
That's really well put.
And remember, the goal isn't just to break the fourth wall, it's to build something new and meaningful in that space.
Well, I think we've successfully meta-analyzed meta-commentary.
And managed to stay legally compliant while doing it.
Thanks for joining us on Copilot Podcasts. Remember, sometimes the best way to tell a story is to acknowledge you're telling one.
Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. You know that moment when a character looks directly into the camera and completely shatters your viewing experience? Well, today we're diving into something even more mind-bending. We're exploring a meta-comedic showdown that's pushing the boundaries of self-awareness, copyright law, and everything in between.
Oh, you mean like how Deadpool constantly breaks the fourth wall to talk to the audience?
Exactly. But we're going even deeper. We're looking at how modern creators are using meta-commentary to push the boundaries of what's possible in storytelling.
You know, it's fascinating because this whole concept of breaking the fourth wall actually dates back to the 17th century with a French playwright named Molière.
Wait, really? I thought this was a modern thing.
Oh no, he coined the term fourth wall to describe that invisible barrier between the actors and the audience. It's literally been around for centuries.
But how does this connect to modern copyright law? Because that's where things get really interesting.
Well, according to recent legal analysis, there's actually a crucial distinction between parody and satire in copyright law.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. The US Copyright Act of 1976 specifically protects parody under fair use because it directly comments on or criticizes the original work.
Ah, so that's how shows can get away with it.
Exactly. But here's where it gets tricky. Satire is different. If you're just using someone else's work to make a broader point about society, you might not be protected.
That seems like a pretty fine line to walk.
It absolutely is. The Supreme Court actually addressed this in Campbell v. Acuff Rose Music, saying that parody needs to mimic the original to make its point.
So how are modern creators navigating this?
Well, take Deadpool, for example. The character constantly acknowledges he's in a movie, but he's also specifically commenting on superhero tropes and conventions.
And that's considered fair use?
Yes, because it's transformative. It's not just copying, it's creating something new through commentary.
You know what's interesting? This seems to be especially prevalent in podcasting.
That's true. According to recent podcast rankings, shows that incorporate meta-humor and self-awareness are seeing huge growth.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because audio is such an intimate medium. When you break the fourth wall in audio, you're literally speaking directly into someone's ears.
That's a really good point. It's like we're all in on the joke together.
Exactly. And modern audiences are increasingly sophisticated about meta-commentary.
But doesn't that create challenges for creators?
Oh, absolutely. You have to balance being clever with being accessible, all while staying within legal boundaries.
And those legal boundaries aren't always clear, right?
No, they're not. The line between protected parody and potentially infringing satire can be really blurry.
So what's the future looking like for meta-commentary?
Well, with the rise of digital media, we're seeing more experimentation than ever.
How so?
Creators are finding new ways to break the fourth wall across multiple platforms simultaneously.
That sounds complicated from a legal standpoint.
It is, but that's what makes it exciting. Each new platform creates new opportunities for creative meta-commentary.
And new legal challenges too, I imagine.
Definitely. The laws are constantly trying to catch up with creative innovation.
Speaking of innovation, let's talk about how this affects audience engagement.
Studies show that breaking the fourth wall actually increases audience involvement and emotional connection.
Really? That's fascinating.
Yes, when done well, it makes the audience feel like they're part of the story rather than just passive observers.
But it can also backfire, right?
Oh, absolutely. If it's not done skillfully, it can completely break the audience's immersion.
So what's the key to doing it well?
It's about finding that sweet spot between clever self-awareness and genuine storytelling.
And staying within legal boundaries, of course.
Right. The best meta-commentary manages to be both creative and legally sound.
It's like a creative tightrope walk.
Exactly. And the rope keeps moving as technology and law evolve.
So what advice would you give to creators in this space?
Understand the legal framework first, then push the creative boundaries within those limits.
That seems like a solid approach.
And always remember that the goal is to enhance the story, not just show how clever you can be.
That's a really important point.
Because ultimately, it's about connecting with the audience in new and meaningful ways.
And maybe teaching them something about storytelling in the process?
Exactly. When done well, meta-commentary can make us more aware of how stories work.
Which brings us back to where we started, that moment of breaking the fourth wall.
Full circle, just like a well-crafted meta-narrative.
Speaking of which, should we tell our listeners that we've been meta this whole time?
I think they probably figured that out already.
Well, on that appropriately self-aware note, we should wrap things up.
Just remember, whether you're creating or consuming meta content, it's all about finding that balance between cleverness and authenticity.
And staying on the right side of copyright law.
That too. Always that too.
Thanks for joining us on Copilot Podcasts. Remember, sometimes the best way to tell a story is to admit you're telling one.